Hello, my fellow Extraordinary Americans. I'm Samaddar, and this is Extraordinary America. What is Extraordinary America about? You see, American identity is about freedom, the opportunity for a better life, and the pursuit of happiness. However, most Americans are not free when it comes to the financial front. Most Americans are suffering from financial slavery due to loss of jobs, stagnant wages, inflation, and debt of all kinds. Wealth and income inequality runs rampant across America, and the middle class is all but disappeared. So what is Extraordinary America about? Extraordinary America is about the abolition of financial slavery. It is about the financial freedom of the 99%. It is about the nation of immigrants and descendants of immigrants awakening and unleashing the extraordinary within themselves and setting themselves free. The path to financial freedom is through entrepreneurship and investing on the light side. It is about financial education, not only when it comes to money in the monetary systems, but also in regards to how to start a business, investing, especially when it comes to precious metals and real estate. In this podcast, I interview guests, many of whom came from humble beginnings, to see how they did it and how they attained financial freedom in their own lives and how they did business. And it is my hope that you will be inspired and you will want to awaken extraordinary within yourselves and realize the American dream. Once again, welcome to Extraordinary America. Welcome back to the show, my fellow extraordinary Americans. For today's guest, we have Kris Miller. Kris is a legacy wealth strategist, C-suite executive leader, and #1 best-selling author and speaker. A leading expert in safe money strategies, Kris Miller has helped over 6,000 families and businesses avoid financial disasters by strategically planning for their futures. Over the last 33 years, not one of her clients has lost a dime in any market risk. Kris has personally generated several $1,000,000 in her own business, Trust Unlimited, and was nominated for Women of the Year by the Hemet Chamber of Commerce. She's the #1 best-selling author of Ready for Retirement, 3 Secrets for Safe Money and a Fabulous Future, which is a guide to financial freedom, second chances, and how to create income that you'll never outlive. Kris has been a featured guest on hundreds of radio and TV shows and has spoken on stages across the country. Her podcast, Money 911, is in the top 1%. She's also a songwriter in the Grammy-nominated songs that you may have heard on the radio, and in a previous life, she walked barefoot across America. She's an extraordinary American, and I'm glad and honored to have her on the show. Kris, are you there?
I am, and thank you for having me.
Kris, thank you so much for taking the time to be on this show, and I'm truly honored to have you here. Could you tell me, the audience, a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you got started?
Absolutely. Well, I was a paralegal, or I still am a paralegal, and it was right in the 91, 92. I was working with an attorney, and we had this little widow come in, and all she had was a car and a house and no money. And back then, he wanted to charge her $5,000 for a living trust. Well, if you don't have a trust, you end up in probate, and the courts and the attorneys take lots of money out of the estate instead of it going to your family. And I looked at this attorney, and she was out of the room, and I just said, "Hey, could you give her a deal? She didn't have any money." And he said no. And that kicked me back. That made me look like, okay. And I left out of there and decided, I'm going to make it easy for people to get living trusts. And that was my momentum. I wanted to make it affordable. He was charging 5,000 in 1992. I was charging $199 for a $5,000 trust. Literally broke the market. In fact, I broke it so good it was hard to raise my own price for a long time. But after 3 decades of doing this, I started seeing patterns. It's not like I was so smart, but I've coached over 6,000 people and businesses, and there was a pattern. And it was like, will you retire? It's like a roulette wheel. Is it going to be, the market could be up or down when you retire, right? And there were 3 things that people miss in their planning, which is, and I don't care how great they are, planners, it's shocking how pretty much everybody misses something. And it is basically protection of assets from catastrophic illness, long-term care, and the Great Recession. So, and as a result of this, I've developed programs to be able to make this money conversation healthy and happy and not so scary because it's overwhelming. Why? Go to school, you learn how to make money, you get out of school, what do? Go make money and give it to somebody else to gamble. And then the people would come into my office and they'd start, and this is what got me, right? Cosmos, this is what got me. They'd be coming in my office and then they'd start their retirement plan at 50. They'd start their retirement plan at 50, 60, 70, right? Something was wrong here. And that's what really got me to, get going and be able to teach people about healthy money.
Chris, I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you in this podcast is because what you're taught, what you're working with is so relevant in today's world, right? So you had this 1950s where you had the food, you could have like a middle class job and you could like save money and you could retire properly. But the most important issue in today's day is inflation combined with debt, and then which basically eats away at the purchasing power. And a lot of people don't have job security, so there is no actual plan for retirement, because like by the time you go to a savings account, you have lost a lot of that purchasing power, and you like a lot of people realize that they have to go back to work. So, like my next question to you would be, at what age should people actually start the strategy for actually retirement, and what should they do different in today's world?
Well, I'd start now. I don't care what age you are. My daddy started me when I was really young and inspired me to save money. So that's why, I look, you know, I, I'm a money saver and I know how to protect assets. I was started really young where, teach your children, give them $1 and match it, right? Well, basically, there were things that I found out when I was in my 50s that I wish I would have known at, 20, 40 years old, right? And one of them that you can do, even if you don't have a lot of money, is what's called Index Universal Life. It's investable life insurance. So, number one, it's built on a life insurance chassis. Most people think of life insurance, they think of a death benefit. But this is what's called living benefits, so that you literally can live off the death benefits while you are alive. Let me give you an example. I had a client, he was 38 and he didn't really have a humongous amount of money, but he could afford $500 a month. Now, he put that in, and at retirement, he was set to get anywhere from 80 to $100,000 tax free, right, for life. Now think about that. That 100,000 is going to be worth more because you're not paying 40, 50, 60% in taxes. And it is really amazing what this kind of this performance, the IUL, can do for people depending on your age and health. The power of tax deferral, right? You're not getting a 1099 every month. You're not losing your principal going like this till get to the end. It's solid. If it market goes up two, you get two. The market goes down two, nothing happens. So you're only catching the upside of everything. And then when you get in your third and fourth quarter, guess what? It also has catastrophic illness long-term care protection. That's right. So 70% of us end up in a nursing home after 65. And that's something that people are not planned for. Only like 2% of everybody in this country has that plan. And, the costs are anywhere from five to $20,000 a month for long-term care. It wipes people out. Unfortunately, I don't know the stats, but it's something I've seen more people, I just guess 70%, a lot of percent of people end up losing their assets before they pass away, either in a nursing home, probate, not having the right paperwork, or the Great Recession. And that's what I've seen. And it's really sad. If they had learned about what I talk about, they would not have that experience.
Well, Chris, like, a lot of people that are coming from like the Gen X or the baby boomer generation were relying on Social Security to basically save them for retirement, and basically the pension plans and all of that. But what is your opinion on that, and is that realistic in today's world?
Well, a lot of pension plans are going away. They're very volatile. Now, if you have a 401k, they're okay if they match you, then that's free money, okay? But then if if they give you 4%, then you put 4% in. But if you're putting 10, then I would take the other 6 and start an IUL. Start something that, if you have 30, 40 years of tax deferral, that money gets really big. It gets into the millions of payout that you would get. But think about it. Where is your 401k or your IRA invested? Risk. It's in the stock market. And I'll tell you, we are headed for some bumpy times. I mean, it's like not as if it's been bumpy enough. This is just the beginning. I'm an optimist, but I also study money. I also see half the planet is getting off the dollar, the bricks, right? They're getting off. They're buying gold. Half the planet is buying gold. Gold is a great hedge for 5,000 years, right? For money. But the point is that it's really shaky. You can't keep printing money, right? And we're in $35 trillion debt. That we have $1 trillion in every 100 days of interest we're paying on the debt. How long do you think this is going to go on? And with the volatility of what's going on in the planet, it's set to crash. And it's not going to be like 2008. The powers that be are moving things into a very 911 state. That's why my podcast is called Money 911. Because I think people got to wake up, pay attention, learn about the safe money so that they can be protected and wage through the bumpy weather that we're going to have and starting to have.
Chris, for the I've been studying this as well, and I'm sure you actually are aware of this. But for the sake of the audience, what do you think is going to happen in the near future? Like right now, everything is in a inflationary is in a bubble, right? But so, like I think that it's going to be a crash, but then they're going to keep printing money, and eventually there'll be a hyperinflation or a big inflation. But from your perspective, how do you think the economy is going to go in the next 5 years, and what can people do to protect themselves and their assets on an individual level?
Well, I agree with you. I do feel the whole thing is going to reset. I think that they're trying to drive that this is all intentional. They're trying to drive everything into a CBDC. They're going to get rid of paper. And it's going to be so bad. This is the only thing that we can do to save the economy, right? It's just all
You're talking about central digital currency.
right. That's what they're pushing, going to push, because the value of the dollars is going down, and the inflation is going up, and the wages aren't going anywhere, right? So all of those things are there.
We
There's two trains of thought of really deflation or inflation, but it's also going to be known as the lost decade too. And so what you want to be aware of, and especially if your audiences are, you said they were in their 20s and 40s, is what I'm talking about, the IUL. And you can literally fund those. Now they're health driven, and there are other things that I can show you, in a financial fitness strategy that aren't health driven. And basically, I have all of my assets in equity index annuities. I have gold and silver too, but they're never lost a dime in the Great Depression. But for the younger ages, I'd go for the tax-free income. And those are fabulous because not only do you get the tax-free income for life, you're going to get cash, and it builds cash. A lot of real estate agents use it like a bank, and they take the cash out, they flip a house, they put it back, pay it back, and then income. You can set up income at whatever age you want. You don't have to wait till your 60s to retire. There are some really creative things that I've learned and been blessed to learn over these decades. And really, I own what I sell. I'm not in the stock market, not at all. I own what I sell, and I'm not throwing darts at things. Look, I've been doing this 3 decades. I've done well, and now I'm sharing everything that I have. I actually have a financial literacy program called Create Income You'll Never Outlive. And and I have a lot of levels that people can connect with me on. But there's education there because people don't understand about their money. And that's what I like to share.
No, I would advise anybody listening to this to definitely look at your program. What is the name of that program again?
Well, it's called Create Income You'll Never Outlive. You can hop on a call with me because, you know, not everybody can get in it. So it's you go to startcreateincome.com and you can check that out. It's a 3-month program and it's got like 50 videos. It's purely educational. It's a lot of mindset in there. There's a lot of mindset around money and a lot of explanations, really deep dives on what I'm talking about, where we really literally set you up, set your living trust up, set all of your protections up, the catastrophic illness, and in these 3 months. It's pretty exciting. And that's like a deep dive, which is really great for your listeners. And you can go to startcreateincome.com, or you can literally hop on my calendar at meetwithkrismiller.com too.
Chris, I'm going to ask you this again at the end of the interview, just so
Okay.
that people can get this again. But I did have another question, another set of questions to ask, especially around this like, I know that you have advised 6,000 families and businesses on basically on wealth investment strategies and everything. So my question to you is, what is like the number one top strategy that you would advise them? And how would people listening to this go about understanding that altogether?
Okay. Well, the number one, it will really depend on your age and your health. So if you're, in your olders, late 40s up, I would recommend Equity Index Annuities. And they accumulate right now at the time of this recording at 10 to 15%, where you can just grow your money at that rate. They also can create an income you'll never outlive. And I've had these for decades, 3 decades, and I literally set it up so I could have income. And I set one up at 62, 65, right? Well, when I got to 62, I didn't need the money. So I just push it forward and I get more income. It's like a stairway of income. It's really fabulous. And then during the pandemic, I didn't have a lot of but everything just closed, right? So then I reached into my accumulation annuity. I took a 10% free withdrawal and I rebuilt my business into the digital world and was successful in the pandemic. So I have two kinds of annuities for people in their late 40s and up, and they're always a few percent above inflation. And then you guys that are younger that are like 20 to 40s, I mean, I did an annuity in my mid 60s. You just got to put more money in there, okay? So the point is, it really is depending on your age and health. That's what I do in the financial fitness strategy is I see what you're suitable for. But for younger ages, if you could start the equity in the sorry, the IUL, right? Index Universal Life. That's the life insurance. It's a tax-free income. That's my favorite right
Mhm.
now. Even in the world of Armageddon, where there's no interest, they have a floor of 2%. I mean, can you find that at your bank, right? So if we had no interest rates, everything was minus, which is not that likely. I mean, we've only had 3 years of zero interest rates. But they actually, right now, they're what they do is they pay their minimum is 3, but their floor is 2. So you literally can make money even when there's no interest rates in the economy.
So
So there's
Chris,
a lot of benefits to it, but there's a floor where you never lose your principal.
So, Chris, then one question that many people in the audience would have is how do I invest and beat inflation at the same time? Because right now, especially in 2022, there was like this year of inflation, the years before that. And also, it is predicted that inflation is just going to get worse and worse over a period of time because that's all the banks are doing, printing money. So, from your perspective and from the audience perspective, I think in beating inflation is going to be the number one factor altogether in today's world.
Right, and that's where you want to keep the value of the dollar, right? So you have a dollar, and number one, you want to get all the tax off of it, right? And get into the places where one, you never lose your principal. Two, your money's either tax free or tax deferred. Look, I live in, communist California, and you know, Serious. I mean, you know, I was born here, right? It's not the same state that I was born in, and their taxes are crazy, right? Well, if you're paying
I
40,
was gonna ask you off record. You're a business person and you live in California. How do you do that? Yeah.
well, I've had a business, 34 years here, so it that's my business, and I was born here, and how do I do it? God bless me, I'm doing it. I'm doing well, and I've learned how to mitigate the taxes. So all my investments are tax deferred now as they start, or tax free. As they pay out, I'm taking it over time. And I have annuities that I started 30 years ago. Say maybe it was a 10-year annuity and I made all this money. Instead of, taking all the money out, I just rolled it over into another annuity, and I hadn't paid any taxes on that growth for 30 years. Now I'm taking a payout. That's fair. It's my contribution back into the system that is so nuts right now. I'm, not in agreement with what's happened to America, since that's your title. But the foundation of, contributing and doing your fair share, well, my fair share is to get as much tax off as I can, not lose my principal. So I use tax free or tax deferred investments. And that's how I get around all those nasty taxes.
No, I mean that's amazing. Like this is actually like valuable, so much valuable information that you're sharing. I really appreciate that because
Yeah,
most people would not actually be thinking in terms like this. Like how do I they would not be getting this advice in many places, you know?
yeah.
And one of the things I wanted to get back to was the concept of life insurance that you mentioned earlier. So you said that there it is possible to get to basically get money back at a good rate using life insurance. But for the sake of the audience, can you explain that concept, especially regarding life insurance? Because I'm sure a lot of people they don't understand that altogether, you know?
Well, there's different kinds of life insurance. There's term life insurance where you don't pay a lot of money, and it's usually for a mortgage if one of the spouses passes away, or you have kids. There's whole life was kind of like things that everybody was getting into for income. But now they have what's called a hybrid called Index Universal Life. So the insurance company buys 20, 30-year options. And I only use 8 companies. So every $100 you have with an insurance company, they have 135, 100, between 100 and 125 or 35 in reserve. And they literally have to keep cash somewhere. So if you want to cash out that policy, they got to give it to you, right? So, and then the other thing is that they're conglomerates. I mean, they're insured, and then other insurance companies insure them, so they're very safe, right? And then the interest rates are, like I said, always a few percent above inflation. And because the money comes out tax free, the value of it is amazing. So what they do is they blow up the death benefit, because it's not so much about the death benefit. It's called accelerated death benefit, meaning you can take the money out of the death benefit for life, and you can literally customize. Say, you can I can only put in $500 a month for a few years, but you see down the road you're going to be making more money. So you can customize this into starting with so much, adding more later. You later on when you retire, you can throw in your 401k or your IRA. The death benefit can pay the taxes. There's a lot of creative planning you can do in there. They're fabulous things to create for kids for college with very little money, and then create something that they literally pay that back, and then they have tax-free income and get taught about safe money. And because unfortunately you guys are going to have a harder time than I had growing up. It's really going to be rough to get a house, to it's and it's being done on purpose that way to force you into the city life, and downsize and all of the things that's being pushed on to people. But you don't have to live that way if you understand the safe money strategies. And there's a learning curve around it. You got to take the time out to learn. um, I was blessed. I was speaking at an event in Washington, D.C. to the U.S. Government Financial Officers Association, right? And these are the guys that handle the billions and trillions, of money here. And I was giving a workshop and I said, so how many of you are ready for retirement? It was crickets, like 2% of the room. And these are all like government, right? And I thought I was being cute. And I just said, oh, you're the government, right? Like you're supposed to be prepared. The director looked at me really cold and folded his arms and he says, we're busy taking care of other people's money. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And then it clicked on me. That's what we're busy. We're busy raising kids, going to school, building our business, right? And then one minute you're going to look up and you're going to be 50, 60, and 70. It's crazy how fast it goes. Blows my mind. I am not my age, but it's really crazy. So that's why you want to take the time out to take, well, he called it a retirement planning holiday, meaning, take out a few hours on Sunday and learn about, read my book or learn about safe money, learn about protection of assets, watch some of my videos on my YouTube channel, Money 911, learn about safe money.
So, Kris, one of the things I wanted to ask for the sake of America and for like our audience is, like, so a large percentage of the population are living paycheck to paycheck, right? And they're making income, but however, they're not really like focused on the future beyond a 1 year or a 2 year standpoint, right? Like, let's say they're in their 30s or 40s, they're not really thinking about the future. So, from your perspective, how should they strategize their life? Like when they have like a job and they're making a paycheck and then save enough to basically create it in investments and like basically get a retirement plan like that in today's world from your point of view? Because they don't really think that much into the future, you know?
Right. And that's what I was saying. You go to school, learn how to make money, get out of school, go make money. Nobody's taught about money. And then all of a sudden, everybody, this is what got me. All these thousands of people that were coming in my office were starting their retirement plan at 50, 60, and 70 after they retired. I people at 90. It's crazy. You got to start saving. You need at least, we used to say 6 month rainy day money. Now it's more like you need a year. What if there's another lockdown? So you
Wow.
need to have rainy day money, period. Then once you have that rainy day money, you need to keep saving and learn about what I'm talking about. Learn about the place where you can stash money away that's going to come out tax free. And that's what we do in financial fitness strategy sessions, where you become financially fit and you're not going to go through your life with all this worry and fear of what's going to happen.
So, Kris, from your perspective, like from advising more than 6,000 families and businesses, what is the biggest challenge that people are facing, people or family are facing when it comes to successfully implementing the strategies? Is it like a lack of education, or is it more of like we're set in our ways and it's like the old versus the new, where it's like the tradition of like what society has taught versus these new innovative ways that are now coming out on all of this?
The biggest thing is procrastination. And look, I've got files and piles of people that want to talk to me. They need a living trust. They need to protect their assets from long term care. They want tax free income. Oh, they're so excited, right? They see me speak, and I'm a national speaker and I'm go all over speaking. And they're really excited. And then they don't show up for the appointment, or I have to call them 10 times, right? Because they're busy and they're not in the right priorities. They put that part, saving money, as forget it. They don't even take any time for it. So
Okay.
procrastination is what I see as one of the hugest problems. And the procrastination of take time out of your life to pay attention. Look at your numbers. I mean, it shocked me that people come in my office and go, where's your IRA? Where's your 401k? They go, oh, and they name some big company. I go, no, where is it? What's it invested in? And they don't really know. They don't know, and then they're embarrassed that they don't know. And there's no judgment. It's not your fault. Nobody taught you, right? So it's not your fault. But now it's your fault because there are, because we're now it's like you got to get it in gear, right? So that's why I'm talking about it, right? And I want to stimulate and wake people up to get moving because the time is short. I had a lot longer in my generation, right? I'm a boomer, okay? It's a lot different for you guys. You're not going to have the same advantage that we have. I mean, in a deflationary or, a flat economy, that really isn't going to, it's just going to kind of go like that. That's what a lot of people think, right? They think that inflation is going to be in this little cap thing like this, would be 10 years of it, like we went through in the 70s. It's not good. Well, what are you going to do? You've got to learn this creative planning and you could prosper. Even if the whole thing falls apart, you can prosper if you learn these strategies.
So, Kris, on a national context, America has always been about freedom, right? And that's been our national identity. However, like when it's coming to the financial front, and like what we've discussed so far, most people are not financially free, and they're looking at disaster in terms of their retirement plan altogether because of the rampant inflation and the possible market crash that's going to happen in the near future, which has already happened in 2008 and it's going to happen again. So, from your perspective, are we truly living the life of freedom, or is that just an illusion? And we need to start working towards actually becoming free, starting with our finances.
Well, there's a lot of levels inside of that question because first freedom is on the inside. Okay. So you could be locked up in prison and be free by, having faith in God and having your insides connected, right? That's real freedom. As far as the country goes or what's happening in the country, it has changed so much just in my lifetime that it isn't free like it was when I grew up. It's not the same free America. So freedom in your finances, having enough rainy day money. It's a freedom that takes the burden off your mindset to know that you're covered, know that you have your legal documents, that you have guardianships in your living trust for your minor children. People have kids and they don't even, mom and dad go out to dinner and don't come back. Who's going to take care of the kids? Because when you're 20, 30, 40, it took me till I was like 50 to realize, yeah, I might pass away, right? We're not going to live forever in this body. So that's why, the freedom is on the inside first. Then you manifest it out. Well, you're working with the money. Well, what's going to give you freedom with the money? Knowing that it's there. That's going to give you the freedom. Knowing that you're not going to lose it if the thing shifts and crashes, right? And it's not the same crash as 2008. This thing is really subtly changing the whole system of things. It's already started. It started when you go to the gas station. It started when you go to the store. That's already crashed. It's already happening. And it's just brick by brick, it's being pulled apart. And, I won't even get into the political side of it. I'm just saying it is being shaken. So you're going to have to be your own America inside and take care of your own freedom and pay attention to the safe money strategies. Nobody's going to come and tell you. Nobody's going to come and rescue you and say, oh, you better not do this, right? Nobody's being told that. They're just trying to sell you, you got to buy this stock. I mean, they're throwing darts at these companies. And that's your life. That's your energy. That's your money being put into risk. Now, I'm not saying you don't have, you can have a small percent if you want to gamble, but realize it's a gamble, especially now where we're at. And depending on your age, you can gamble a certain amount, but realize it's a gamble. And what I'm trying to show you is places that you can go that are tax free or tax deferred that can create an income you'll never outlive.
Yeah, like Kris, like this is actually a very important conversation we're having because yeah, there's the freedom is so important, and I think like right now on the financial front, a lot of people across this country are being caught unaware, or basically there's that sense of urgency is not there, like as you mentioned before about procrastination, like yeah, a lot of people are not having the sense of urgency regarding what's going on. And but the next thing that I wanted to ask was about, that we had this concept of the American dream, right? And financial freedom is an important part of people realizing the American dream. But from your perspective, what is the greatest challenge that Americans are facing that's stopping them from realizing this?
The financial freedom, the greatest challenge is the value of the money. What's going on with the dollar? It really is the fall of the currency. When you have half the planet getting off the petrodollar, right? And buying gold, the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, they're all buying gold. They're creating another standard. They're trading, instead of using the petrodollar, they're using their own currencies
Chris,
to
for
buy.
the sake of the audience, could you briefly explain the petrodollar system? Because I know what it is, but most people would not be aware of.
It's a long story, you can look it up. But basically, when you know, basically the dollar has been the standard, and so when they're buying oil and everything, the dollar, even if it was China or Russia, they would use the dollar as the currency. But because of the things that have been going on, that all the other countries are backing off because of what America has done with the dollar. They're seeing the shakiness. They're not wanting to buy our bonds anymore. We're buying our own bonds because nobody wants to buy them. They're printing money to buy their own bonds.
I would like
It's
to
like,
I would like to add, Chris, for the sake of the audience, that yes, a lot of countries they have dollars. They basically trade with America in exchange for dollars just so that they can buy oil from the countries in the Middle East because of the petrodollar system. Because the agreement is they they cannot buy oil in anything other than the US dollar. But now if there's a moving away through BRICS and all of that, then they'll basically dump all those dollars they have in their countries into the United States, and that'll lead to massive inflation. And I think people need to understand that, because if that happens, there is hyperinflation for sure. Because what's been keeping the inflation from not getting worse so far is because of the petrodollar system, essentially.
yeah, that's right. That's what I was saying exactly. But that has changed when you have half the planet. They've already gotten off the dollar, half this planet. So now these things take a while to manifest, but it's already in process. That is already in process, and how it's going to unfold. Throw a few wars inside of there, right?
How many years do you think we have left before the petrodollar system is dissolved completely?
I really can't tell you how many. I think it's close. We're in the next few years. Right now, the petrodollar's okay, but it's not great anymore. And I just read something, I can't remember the stats about how much, I think it's 20% how the dollar just went down, but it's not good. So you don't wait for anything. Do it now. Pay attention now. I mean, even if I said, well, you got 5 years, people procrastinate. Well, I think I'll wait to year four. It's not, you got to look at it, it's happening now. Do something now. Start learning about what I'm talking about now, and look at what you have, where it is. Maybe you don't have any. This is how you can get something. Depends on your age and your health. So it's not a one size fits all, right? I don't say everybody's got to have an IUL or annuity. It really depends on their age, their health, their wealth. But there's three things you got to protect yourself from: catastrophic illness. You need to have that taken care of. Make sure you have the right paperwork and a living trust, and make sure your assets are protected from market loss and that they're safe and you have your rainy day money.
No, for sure, Chris. And no, it's so important, this conversation. I think it should be talked about in every single American home, because these are the things that are going to affect everything, right? And
Absolutely.
so,
Yep.
so Chris, I wanted to ask about your book. I know you wrote this book about retirement, right? So can you tell us, like, Ready for Retirement, the three secrets for safe money and a fabulous future? Can you tell us a little bit more about the premise of how you wrote this book and what it's about?
Well, about year 25 of my business, I kind of looked at what I was doing and was saying, like, I'm pretty unique. I was doing something really unique because when I first started my business and was losing money, I realized it was like, wait a minute, I am not being told everything here. So I backed off because it was really important for me, the responsibility of having somebody's assets and estate, and I was, showing them where to put it. I didn't want to mess up. So I literally like took a year off just to learn about safe money and put all my money into what I'm talking about. So I never lost a dime. And that's what inspired me to write the book, because I saw what I do is pretty unique. There are not a lot of people that do what I do the way I do it. And I wrote ready for pre-retirement. Pre was planned retirement early. So your money will be there when you need it, also known as three secrets for safe money and a fabulous future. So that's the conversation that I'm always having. And it's been out for a while. It's not a new book, and I'm going to be have a new book coming soon with it more about the tax-free inside of that, the tax-free income. But the point is that I tried to consolidate everything that I'm talking about now, except the IUA. I didn't have a lot back then when I wrote that book. And in the back of the book, there's lots of charts and planner things and things that I use that will help you learn, and a lot of resources and assets. So now you can write me directly and I can give you, like two books for one, plus shipping. And why? Because I want you to give it to a friend or give it to one of your kids, and then pass it around and help everybody get ready, because you got to get ready. So it
For
is a
sure.
number one bestseller, and I've, been blessed to help a lot of people, but that was a good start. And then I realized I needed to create a course, a program. And then I have my program called Create Income You'll Never Outlive. And you can sign up for it to talk to me at Create Income. Start createincome.com. There's a little sign up. Or if you allow me, I can give you the website to hop on a call, and I can get you the book that way too, or the financial fitness strategy session. I don't charge you for that. People think I'm crazy, you know, but I just feel like what goes around comes around. So I have a financial fitness strategy session. We get on the phone. I ask you your age, your health, your wealth. I research what I'm telling you about. We hop on a Zoom call. I give you a class. I show you this is what it looks like for your age if you do this and that. I send you everything, and then that way you can ask me questions and go from there. And that's called a financial fitness strategy session. And you can hop on my calendar at meetwithkrismiller.com. It's Kris Miller. And that gets you on my calendar. And then I can give you that financial fitness to get your assets in shape.
So, Kris, is this the way audience can connect with you? Is there any other way they connect with you?
Sure, you can send me an email at Kris, Kris, at healthymoneyhappylife.com. That's my website. And there's some videos and lots of goodies on there to check that out. Or just call my office. And it's 951-926-4158. And you can call the office and we can set up a time to chat.
Chris, this is amazing. And I do hope that my audience reads your book and definitely reaches out to you for financial strategy and session, because we really need this in today's time, because a lot of people are just procrastinating about their retirement, or like basically what are they going to do regarding money for the next 10, 20 years. They don't plan it out that way. And in
Right.
today's time, with the economy in bad shape, like with the big risk that is there, like this is valuable information. And I really appreciate that you took the time to do this podcast and share your invaluable wisdom. And I do hope you come back to this at a later time.
All right. Sounds good to me. It's a joy to share with everybody. And like I said, feel free to connect. I'm happy to help you.
And I want to conclude this episode by letting my fellow extraordinary Americans know that, hey, look, there's an extraordinary within each and every one of us. It's our duty to awaken it and unleash it. Until next time, bye for now.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching Extraordinary America. If you like what you see, please do subscribe to our podcast and share it with others.
Remember that the best investment that you can make in your lifetime is in your own financial education, for it is knowledge that truly sets us free. Also, remember that inflation is diluting your purchasing power, which in turn increases financial bondage. The practical thing to do is to protect the loss of your purchasing power and invest in precious metals or the right cryptocurrencies. Lastly, never forget that you are an extraordinary American. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.